Hey, the talk of the town this week, obviously, is the crazy finish to St Kilda versus Melbourne.
Nuts.
We could probably spend about 45 minutes just talking about Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera and how great he is. But that 46-point comeback is the greatest comeback from three-quarter time in VFL, AFL history. So you talk about champion data not having sort of streaks of goals and only having quarter-by-quarter updates. That includes all of this time. So it was absolutely remarkable to see the Saints from where they were at three-quarter time to where they were at the end of the game, including 2 goals in the last 15 seconds to Nasiah. It was just hard to believe stuff.
Yeah, you can't actually fathom what happened.
On the ground,
what are the odds? What are the odds when he's lining up for that goal to tie the game with 20 to 15 seconds to go? By the way, he took way too long.
Yes, he did. My heart was in my throat.
What are the odds that from that moment?
Yeah.
If I said to you...
So ESPN does the win calculator percentage. It would have been Melbourne 99% for most of that final quarter. Yeah. And it would have dipped to maybe like 60 when he took the mark, because he might miss and there's an opportunity there. And then it just would have flipped on its head.
So much needs to go right in that moment.
There were on-the-ground reports of the train platforms at Southern Cross Station being full of St Kilda supporters as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many do you reckon left at three-quarter time?
And you would have missed one of the all-time finishes. Do you leave the footy early?
Nah, not usually. I'll sometimes just like beat the traffic, I guess.
If you're getting smashed?
Even if it's like Collingwood wins, I'll still be like, stuff it like. Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
You would leave?
I don't always.
Yeah, I've had to do that, unfortunately.
You've got kids.
Once you get young kids,
care.
I've left early for a Carlton win, so it's not just because we're losing; it's because we need to be somewhere.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I tend to.
There's other
stick it
life
out.
things going on.
Okay, fair enough.
Results, but no, that was absolutely crazy. And imagine they would have had to spend an hour just watching those highlights when they got home, thinking, "What the hell did we just leave for?"
Well, they didn't go home. Apparently, they went to a bar, and there was vision that emerged of Nasiah on top of Ross Lyons' shoulders.
There'll be some that wouldn't have known what happened.
Anyway, Christian, we know the 46 points is the largest comeback from three-quarter time in footy history, but is there any other noteworthy records or markers from that finish, especially in that last quarter, that's worth looking at from a St Kilda or a Melbourne perspective?
Well, in terms of the margin, so 46 points, biggest three-quarter time comeback, but it's only the 11th time a team has actually come back from that margin at any time of the game. So.
Ever?
Yeah, ever. So that includes, teams 46 up halfway through the second and getting run down. So very, very hard to do. St Kilda scored 52 points in the last quarter, their best quarter since 2017, and the worst for Melbourne since 2015. They outscored Melbourne by 52 points, that was. And then, the other one interesting, if you take out the whole margin and the comeback, so Melbourne, looking at the expected scores, so obviously it was only a 1-goal difference, and we remember it as a comeback. But take into account the whole game, and Melbourne won on expected scores. So I think there's little things like Clayton Oliver missing that out in the full late in the game, and then Wanganeen-Milera able to kick him from 50.
Yep.
5th time this year that Melbourne's lost the game, but won expected scores, so generated better shots at goal. Equal most ever in a season. So Melbourne 2023 also did it, and Collingwood 2021 and Port Adelaide 2014. So
I think a couple of those Melbourne 2023 ones might have been the last couple of rounds when they were shoring up a spot, maybe against Collingwood and then against Carlton.
The 2023 finals is the one that we remember where they dominated territory against Collingwood but couldn't get the win, and that's not included on... this included on this because it would include finals. So Melbourne still have another 3 or 4 weeks that, if they can win the expected scores and end up behind on the actual scoreboard...
So you're saying they should be playing finals?
It'll be... God. No, I'm saying that they...
Consider themselves unlucky.
A little bit, but we've been speaking about Melbourne for probably 4 or 5 years on this podcast.
Being
the accuracy,
unlucky.
the accuracy.
If it's unlucky for so long, it actually becomes something else.
I think it's more of an issue of
St Kilda in that last quarter really threw the shackles off. Obviously, they had nothing to lose, and it really paid off.
Yeah. So looking at just the defensive midfield chains for one, so they didn't score from the back 50, but from defensive midfield they had 6 chains where they started either won the ball back from Melbourne at St Kilda centre half back or won a clearance. 5 of those went inside 50s, so usually it's about a 45% success rate getting it from there to inside 50. They were 5 out of 6, 4 goals from those returns. So that coming off the half-back was really, really strong. Go back to round 0 to 14 last season. They were number 1 for scoring from that zone.
Yeah.
Dropped to 13th for the second half of last year. Been around 7th this season, but it's something that did catch my eye in terms of they did it in the last quarter. It was something they were doing really well quite early last season. It was probably driven by guys like Wanganeen-Milera and his ball use off half-back.
Yep.
But able to do it in this game, in this quarter, something that sort of, as I said, Ross Lyon had shown previously that they've been able to do. So that's always been a heavy zone to score from. We talk about success usually comes from defensive midfield. But just looking at the use of corridor. So again, when the team's behind, you expect them to sort of take the game on, and we always say go through the corridor more. The other team's going to probably be more conservative and try to keep it out wide. So in that final quarter, St Kilda took 13 marks in the corridor. of the ground, 16 for the first 3 quarters. So, averaged about 5 or so in the first 3 quarters. 13-0 though. So Melbourne did not take a mark in the corridor. Had 18 inside 50 St Kilda. 9 of those came through the corridor, whereas only 1 of Melbourne's came through the corridor. So yeah, defensive midfield, using corridor,
so
having a star.
11
in front of the
scoring
ball.
shots from 18 inside 50s as well. We've talked about the Demons' inability to convert their inside 50s to scores a lot over many years on this podcast. They must be looking at that and just thinking, how is this happening?
And you've got to be onto that as a team, knowing that the side you're beating quite, substantially has to throw caution to the wind.
So we've seen now this is the plan B that Ross obviously unveiled and said, go for it. But why would he not be doing this earlier or trying to get this sort of assertiveness over the contest at the start of the game and try and get the jump on a team?
It's a good point, but it actually goes to one of my big points about this was Ross Lyons' reaction in the coach's box when Nasiah kicked those 2 goals, right? And he was smiling and he was laughing. That probably emulates to what we were doing at home and just smiling and laughing at what was actually happening in front of us. I think he mentioned in his press conference, I can't recall if he was talking about halftime or 3/4 time, he said to his players to remember to just go for it and enjoy footy and remember why you play footy.
Yeah.
And look what happened.
Look at the result.
It's exactly what happened. We get one of the craziest.
I mean, obviously,
footy games.
it's not going to affect finals or the run-in, and we are spending a bit of time on a game that's really quite inconsequential to the season as a whole. But you look at the last 2 minutes, and these are club-defining moments for the future of the clubs. I mean, Melbourne, it's demoralising for St Kilda. It could be the start of something. You don't know how it's going to go, but the Saints planning at that last centre bounce, or what should have been a centre bounce at the end, just sort of showed the composure that they had compared to the Demons. They were poles apart. You had Rowan Marshall talking with Marcus Windhager and Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera. They were like quarterback in a huddle at an NFL game, and then they went out and they were saying, telling the forwards to get out of the hole and leave space. And they had this when the actual kick from Marshall came in, it was this Caminiti doing this wheel route around the left side, and it was obviously so well planned. Whereas the Demons were sort of looking at each other. Jack Viney was in no man's land. Jake Bowie wasn't looking at the play, and it was just complete chaos. It just absolute chalk and cheese.
And that kick from Rowan Marshall had to be centimetre perfect, and it absolutely was. Because we can talk about Nas and his finish, which was unbelievable, but that kick from Marshall is a very underrated kick.
Is Tom DeConey making that kick?
Potentially. Put him in that situation, I don't know.
As for Naz, I mean, this is legacy-defining stuff from a player like this, where he is, still out of contract, and there's been demands, about his price and what he should be able to get on the open market and whether he's going back to South Australia or he's going to stay. But, I mean, he could be a St Kilda legend. If he re-signs for 9 years now, this is the player they can build around. He is that good. He is worth that much money, and he was drafted by this club. That would be one of the great success stories, to build a club around this guy who has shown so much in the past 12 to 18 months. You've got players like Max Hall who have had an amazing 8 weeks. You've got Max King hasn't played. Darcy Wilson's shown things. Alex Taru has shown there's going to be a future.
Yeah.
Holding on to him might be the most important thing in that football club's next, 8 weeks.
On the open market, what would you actually think he's worth relative to the rest of the competition?
This may actually be unders. We were saying on this pod a few weeks ago, I asked Jake, I was like, is he going to be a top 10 player by the start of next year? And he's like, hold your horses a bit. No. I might have undersold him.
He could be the best player in the game next year, let alone top 10.
If I'm St Kilda, I'm walking into negotiations with a pretty straight face, and I'm saying, have 22 million over 10 years.
22 million.
Yeah. 2.05, 2.1, that kind of thing.
The CBAs will keep
Absolutely.
as well.
I think if you can lock him in, he is the most marketable player St Kilda have had since Nick Riewoldt. Yeah. And I don't say that lightly. And if he can be this sort of clubman that Nick Riewoldt was, and they can convince him to be the guy, I think this could be the start of something great for St Kilda. What you think about Ross Lyon and his coaching style aside, I really think it could be the start if they can harness this energy that he has brought to this club.
Yeah.
Maybe St Kilda's a top, 6, top 4 team next year.
And the scenes of him on the shoulders of Ross Lyon afterwards,
exactly.
That just tells you, I guess, what they feel about him as well. And the celebrations, you're right, a moment like that can catapult a club. And you just reeled off some names there, like Max King's basically a new recruit next year. You keep Nasiah.
You've got an All-Australian fullback. You've got a decent back line.
Well. Like, you can all say what he's worth, but it's still good to land a big fish. And they're apparently in the race for Leek Alir, who's a really talented defender. Like, not a lot needs to happen other than that, and you get a good fixture. You've got a really tactically savvy coach.
Yeah.
for them to have a really good season.
I mean, you've watched footy a little bit longer than we have. What do you think about this guy? What could he be?
Exactly. We're not across contracts and anything like that, but knowing how many players have re-signed, we know what Cozzy Pickett signed. I'd be, if I was his manager, I'm stacking it up, saying he's got to be the biggest signed contract this year, whether it's with St Kilda or a new team. But I'm looking at it from Naz's point of view, sort of saying St Kilda have to keep him, St Kilda have to keep him. I think now he's got the perfect sort of open book to go to all the clubs. Yeah, he's got to go to all 18 clubs. So how much do you want me? How much do you want to pay? I'm willing to come. Loyalty is a great thing in footy, but at this stage of your career, at a team that you played one final a couple of years ago against GWS, it'd be great if he stays, and it'd be great for St Kilda supporters if he stays. But I say this about Carlton players all the time as well. If you're within your first 3 or 4 years and you can cash in on your contract, your next contract.
But if you could cash in at the same club.
That's great, but I wouldn't be... For him as well, you mentioned the name Tom de Koning, and whether this is happening in Can of Worms, I'd be saying you cannot pay someone from outside the club more than you can pay me. That's the one thing I'd be digging my heels in, saying
I agree with
no
that.
way you're bringing in someone and paying them more.
And St Kilda's been a club that's whinged about the lack of access to academies and father-sons over the years. They have a guy that they've drafted who is right under their nose.
Selected a good one.
I know, and they're potentially going to offer... It's like that meme where the guy's walking with his girlfriend is looking back at the other girl and it's like, ooh, it's like, look at what you've got, man.
Yeah, it's funny how we're saying $1 million for him isn't cashing in compared to what he could be getting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just... Is loyalty worth more than success, and is loyalty worth more
Success
than
at a club like St Kilda?
There's club success.
Imagine being the guy that delivers the flag. And he is good enough to put everyone on his shoulders and say, we can get there together.
Yeah.
Do it, Naz. Come on.
And if you're a player as
Resign.
well, and you see... That's you're right. It's a player you can build around. Players will want to play for your club.
And players, and they'll become a destination club if guys like Taru and Max Hall and Max King, and these guys keep coming through and delivering. I mean, Travalia, we've seen a bit of, Schoenmaker. I mean, there's names there, and they're starting to get more minutes. Philippou, if he can...
Mateus Philippou
correct.
needs to stay fit. Yeah. There's enough to
I'm
build
bullish
around
on the
there.
Saints.
Yeah, I am. It's not knee-jerk as well. I mean, they've been rather competitive against some pretty good teams this year. I'll tell you what, would it have hit the same if he'd missed?
I was going to say, I was about to say, can we do this podcast at 3/4 time yesterday and see if we're still talking the same way?
I mean, all right, maybe I'm getting a little bit excited.
Can I ask one more thing?
Yes, we're going to move on, but yes.
Christian, we will very quickly though. The expected score from that shot, do we have it?
Yeah, it was 3.56, so 51% expected accuracy as well.
okay.
So
You
not
nailed
the
it.
toughest shot, but
Never looked like missing.
We don't have the clutch meter in there, which makes it harder.